Previously on Anime Royale. And now.
At the end of round 3, we have Tony with 2 points, Michael with 1, and Dustin with 0. This is still anybody's game, so we're going to round 4. Question number 4. What is the best Watanabe work ever of all time? Dustin, I believe we're starting off with you, buddy.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Cowboy Bebop.
Alright.
And the reason why is because of the way that it set itself, the depth behind the story, the personality behind the characters and everything. It's just a fantastic setting itself. And yes, it is one of the most influential animes of all time, but that's not the main focus of why I think Cowboy Bebop is one of Watanabe's best works. It's because, as a director, Watanabe knew what his audience was. But, I think it did good in both Japan and the West, didn't it? But, either way, I think I knew what type of direction he wanted to go with this series. He wanted it to be relatable to the Western audience as well as the Japanese audience, because I think there is a lot of it's a Japanese anime, of course, but I think that's the kind of thing that I find interesting about Watanabe. He has a love for Western audiences as well. He has a liking to us for some reason. And I see that in just about every single one of his animes that I've seen. Like Samurai Champloo, he has this thing for rap or something. That's what I like about Watanabe's works. And I think Cowboy Bebop, it's his best. Without a doubt.
Okay. Alright, Tony?
Oh, I'm going next?
Yes.
Whoa! I think I'm about to blow all of your heads off right now about my choice. Everyone loves to talk about how he directed Cowboy Bebop, and it's the quintessential anime. Everybody loves to talk about Samurai Champloo, and I was that quintessential samurai anime mixing with the blend of hip-hop and old school, Japanese culture and stuff. People talk about Space Dandy, and to a lesser extent, Terror in Resonance, which I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, thank you.
But they forget about his most underrated, most hidden gem, which I felt was not only very poignant and very beautiful, but one of the most well-told stories in anime, and that's Kids on the Slope.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Not a lot of animes, and not only that, not a lot of animes, and not a lot of movies or TV shows in America and in Japan ever tackle jazz. Now, jazz has meant so much to me. Jazz is such a influential artwork as for music and stuff. And the way that Watanabe handles telling the story of these 3 friends that grew up in this town and their connection and from their love of jazz was really well handled. And one thing that I liked and I think was kind of his strongest strength is that he works very well with small cast characters. He done it with Samurai Champloo, he's done it with Cowboy Bebop, and he does it here with Kids on the Slope. But the thing that I liked about it is that he tackles realism in this anime. Again, going back to adolescence and the fear of what's to come, drama within friends group, which is always, it's a constant thing, and it's not only interesting, but it's relatable. Something that both Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo can't be because they're larger than life. I mean, one's a space opera and the other one takes place in a mix of medieval Japan with hip-hop style, I mean, you can look up to the characters, you might relate to some of the elements about them, but you can't 100% resonate or, be yeah, that's the kind of guy I am. I can say that 3 characters in Kids on a Slope are me. From the main character and his very shyness when it comes to girls, his passion for music, and his indecisiveness for what he wants to do in life. Does he want to become a doctor, or does he want to pursue jazz? And his quarrel with his best friend, and then I relate to his best friend as well, dealing with unrequited love, elements that I have experienced in my life as well, And you could go on. The music is amazing. It's very on point. The direction, the rotoscoping of how they're doing jazz. I mean, it was just so well handled. He captured the atmosphere perfectly, and I think it makes for one of his, if not his greatest, achievements in anime, or his additions to anime.
All right, Michael.
I'm going Cowboy Bebop Double or Nothing. So I'm gonna team up with Dustin and defend Cowboy Bebop because Cowboy Bebop was my choice. I wrote it down here on my list, and so I'm gonna talk about it. So Cowboy Bebop is considered a classic for many reasons, and I think it handles everything so superbly. You'd be hard-pressed to actually find anything better in terms of animation from a cinematic perspective. The camera decides to pan up through rafters, showing the distance between certain characters. It's intelligently crafted. This isn't just something that you just throw away. It's a classic. And the ending strikes a lot of people. The Greenbird scene, where he falls out of, like, the church and is reflecting on his life with selective colors. The colors and the way that they sort of capture everything with the blue and the roses, which connects to his passions and how his, like, love is fading. Like, Spike as a character, they're so complex. The characters in Cowboy Bebop, it doesn't matter if it's, like, relatable or not, but the thing is that there's small things that we relate to. The romances, the connections between the characters. That's why we relate to them. And the music is stunning! Yoko Kanno is amazing! She delivers one of the best tracks ever in Cowboy Bebop. You would absolutely be, like, heartbroken every time that you hear her, and the way that she composes, and the lyrics aren't actually chosen, they aren't real lyrics, because they reflect emotions in the songs. Like, certain parts, like the Greenbird scene, that's not actually real lyrics. We get to sort of hear what is being said through the emotion of the song. And the incorporation of the jazz and the way that it flows with everything and the structure of Cowboy Bebop, it lets you relate to certain characters on a fundamental level by having comic relief in between all the serious moments. It lets us get down and find the characters to be funny and amusing before shit hits the fan. And that kind of structure is exactly what I love to see. It's well told. It's beautifully crafted. It's a masterpiece for a reason, that's why it's considered to be good. So yeah, Cowboy Bebop, man.
All right, Dustin, you have anything to add?
I think Go Jesus pretty much took the words right out of my mouth.
All right.
I mean, you can't argue with facts here. I mean, it's just Cowboy Bebop. It just sets the way it's set. You just can't beat it because, I mean, yeah, you could, say that it's very episodic in terms of what, like it's nothing more than a bounty show. A lot of people say that, but there's more to it than just that. It's how it builds its world, how it builds its characters, and not only that, it's just the overall tone itself. Like, one of my favorite scenes in Cowboy Bebop has to be the Broken Angel scene, where they're in the church, and there's a lot. I wouldn't say it's focused on religion and all that stuff, but it's just the setting itself. That's what sold me there. Okay. So I can't argue with Goat Jesus when it comes to this anime. I love it.
Okay. All right, Tony, go ahead and defend yourself against these two.
I feel like I'm about to be crucified, man. I'm the gun. I'm at the shooting range, like surrounded by both sides. Like, how do I fight it off? You guys bring up valid points, and I can't say that Cowboy Bebop isn't a masterpiece. That's just wouldn't be true. But I can't also say that saying it's a masterpiece is a fact, because what someone
of course
deem
it's
a
subjective
masterpiece
opinion.
will be subjective, of course. It's an opinion base. And where I see all your points about it being poignant and beautiful and all these scenes, all of those scenes and more are reflected in Kids on a Slope. And one thing that Cowboy Bebop, or that Kids on a Slope has that Cowboy Bebop doesn't, is that you see the maturity of Watanabe's style in Kids on a Slope. Because every element that you just mentioned in Cowboy Bebop is in Kids on a Slope, but it's told in a much faster and much well-told and what's it called? Polished pace. Yoko Kanno's score, you want to talk about beautiful scores? Listen to the score in Kids on a Slope. From the opening theme to the ending theme to the songs that they use inside of the anime itself. It is all just beautiful, and it hits a point, it resonates with you, you know? And you make mention about, the beautiful thing at the end of the anime. You talked about Spike's Beagle a lot. But the problem that I had, especially when it came with Cowboy Bebop, is that many of the supporting characters and some members of the ship weren't as developed as they could have been. Especially when you have a 24 episode long anime, you have the time to do so much with them. And they do tackle many, many facets of them. I felt like some of them could have had a little bit more attention and more detail given to them. Whereas with Kids on the Slope, it being about, a 12 episode long anime, they hit every note right. It doesn't feel like there's any padding to it. It is a full developed story from beginning to end. And the way that it ends, it may not have a death, but there is a schism within the friendship, and the way that they resolve it is a bit ambiguous, albeit kind of cleared up, because the whole theme of the anime is that these characters are connected by one thing, and that's their love of jazz. And at the end of the anime, that is the thing that brings them back together, the fact that they can have a jam session like they used to. And that, in itself, they didn't even have to say words to each other. The scene spoke for itself. And again, this goes back to Watanabe maturing as a director, He doesn't have to be so, straightforward like he was in many scenes with Cowboy Bebop. And you gotta admit, although you might say it was subtle, some of those religious undertones were kind of in your face. Like, yes, this is what I was trying to say. With Kids on the Slope, there's more subtlety to what was going on. And the fact that it is kind of weighed down by reality, and it helps it to be more relatable and more something that you can resonate more with. And I feel like the characters in themselves also really stand out and are like little testaments of not only the time, but of people of that time and people of now. They resonate well beyond what you would normally think. So, I'm trying to defend myself on both sides, and I know I might not have a chance to win, but I feel like when you look at, at least with time itself and how the storytelling has grown, I felt like Kids on a Slope, with his storytelling abilities, you see him grow a lot more with his fleshed out characters, his much more realized themes, the drama is well done, and it leaves on a note that is both a bit somber, it was bittersweet. There's joy to it, but it's also sadness. So, kind of similar to Cowboy Bebop, I would say, because it does end bittersweet in that anime as well, but okay. I felt like it was done much better here on Kids on the Slope than it was on Cowboy Bebop.
Well, you made a really strong argument. Jeez. Okay, no, I'm feeling that. All right, Michael, this is your last rebuttal, and then Tony gets one more.
You didn't argue any of your points with Kids on the Slope. You made assertions. I actually gave examples when talking about the soundtrack and the cinematography and the way that it utilized certain things, like the lyrical composition or like the camera panning out to sort of reflect distance. I gave those examples. You didn't give those examples. You just said that everything was better. And that's not a good argument. Straightforward, with religious undertones? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I watched this show and it felt like it was more of a meditation on death. Just because things take place in churches doesn't mean it has anything to do with religion. It's not necessarily religious. It's more about the fact that, Spike and the characters are coming across this sort of they've encountered death throughout the show. Jet has encountered death, personal death. Spike, death. Faye, the death of her family. It's all about that meditation of death. That's why the religious themes are there. It's not because it's trying to say anything about Christianity or it has anything to say about Christianity. I didn't get that at all. I studied theology and stuff like that, and I don't understand where you're coming from. It's just the way that you're describing Kids on the Slope, it sounds derivative of Cowboy Bebop. And, Jet and Faye were developed just fine. They were great characters. Ed was comic relief, so not really counting in my mind as, anybody significant. He's more of an icon of the show than anything else, and, a foil for the other characters as adults.
She.
I'm sorry, she. I'm gender ambiguous, man. I swear. I knew it was a she. I'm really sorry. That's my bad. Okay.
That's all good.
No,
Hey man, it's just a theory.
a game theory. Thanks for watching. But no. What I'm saying is that Jet had his character sort of go through what it was like to deal with a bad partnership in the past, and Faye had to go into this futuristic setting away from her family and didn't know her identity. And so these characters got developed perfectly fine. I don't think that there was anything in your face, and there are amazing episodes like Jupiter Blues that just blew me out of the water for how well crafted it was when you have this character that was like betrayed so badly, and then also the fact that he had breasts and stuff like that. That's progressive. That's really forward thinking for something from the 90s to actually portray a character like that. I mean, that almost reflects like Imitation Game and the fact that there was this homosexual character and he had to sort of take drugs by his own government. It reminds me of that sort of corruption, and that's a historical thing. So I think Cowboy Bebop tries to capture this sort of twisted, dark history of its own world in a way that I think few shows even dare to try to achieve. It's daring, it's bold. It's something that I really wouldn't have expected from a show like Cowboy Bebop.
Fair enough. All right, Tony, you get one more rebuttal. Go ahead.
Oh man, I mean, again, it's still very difficult to argue with his points because I do agree with them wholeheartedly. But at the same, you made a good point. You're right. I didn't point out like the things that you did, like episodes or like camera panning and stuff. And I guess I should. There is a scene. I think, yeah, it was in episode 6. It was a very poignant scene. It has our main character whose name is Nishimi, and he's sitting by himself downstairs in the cellar next to his piano, and it's just like this really dark, moody tone with one light just flickering at the top of the stairs, if I remember correctly, and it just has this whole, because again, he moved to this new area, is this sense of alienation, and he feels alone once again after his friends, there's a schism between them, and I felt like again, one thing I loved about the show was that the atmosphere really spoke for most of the scene. Like, the characters don't really have to say much, the scene spoke for itself. And, God, it's just so hard to argue with Kelvin. It's like the Anohana thing again, too. It's like, it's a masterpiece, too. But for me, it kind of comes down to personal preference, too. I love Cowboy Bebop, and it is a fun space adventure. And it has a lot of, sentimental and existential points to make. But I think one that really resonates when it comes down to resonation or characters that just seem more pivotal and just spoke more volumes, that's where Kids on the Slope came. Nishimi was just, he's a new kid in a new place that doesn't really understand, and he's torn between following the path of becoming a doctor, which throughout the entire anime, it's kind of being thrust upon him, you should go down this way, and that, being, loving jazz, that's kind of like a side thing. I relate to that because in my life, my dad was hammering, you gotta get a real job, son. You gotta do all this. You gotta make sure you go out there and you work your hardest. But I really want to do YouTube. YouTube is my passion. It's something that, gets me up in the morning. It drives me to do things. It propels me. It pushes me forward, and it challenges me. Just like how jazz challenged Nishimi, I related to his character. I can't say the same with Spike. I mean, I looked up to Spike. Spike's awesome. Who wouldn't want to be like Spike? But the truth is, I'll never be like Spike, He's just somebody I look up to, just almost like a mentor or a idol. But he's not somebody that I can just you know what, buddy? I can feel your dilemma. I connected with him. And I also connected with his best friend, Sentaru, who loved this one girl in the anime, but she just never loved him back. And no matter how much he tried, no matter how many advances he made, he just could never get her to see what he truly had to offer. Again, something that really just resonated with me, and I went, wow, that is a character that just speaks, he speaks to me as a person. And to see it shown in such a, almost like a mirror to the face kind of way, just kind of look at yourself in a sense, and look what you have to evaluate and stuff. And there's also one of the most powerful episodes, and this is where all the drama kind of leads up to. It's all building to a point, is in episode 11. Centauru is driving not driving his car, he's riding his bike, and his sister gets hurt. And this tore him up to the point where he ran away. He ran away from all of his responsibilities, he ran away from his best friend, and it left Nishimi, who has been kind of like relying on Centauru, like, throughout the entire anime. He is like his rock, the guy that kept him in control, and Nishimi just falls apart after this happens. His relationship with Ritsuko goes down the drain. He just loses all drive to continue jazz, and he becomes a doctor by the end of the anime. And I was mentioning poignant scenes at the end of the anime. I hate this. I don't know if you guys seen the anime, but I hate to spoil this. But
please don't spoil it. I can.
Don't spoil
I
it.
won't spoil it. I will not spoil it. But what
It's a
happens
very
at
poignant
the end,
moment.
It is poignant, and it's
Yes.
beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. And,
It really is.
I wish I could go into more detail, but I don't want to ruin it for you.
It's
a
very, very
beautiful
poignant.
Scene. It's a beautiful
Okay.
scene.
That's
That's
Gabe,
all the argument I'm going to
Gabe?
make about it. So. But
Okay, I'm gonna cut
Gabe,
this right now.
before you
What?
say anything,
Yes.
Gabe, before you say anything, you never gave
What?
me a chance. But
Yeah, you did.
I just
you had a
wanna-
chance, and then Tony had a chance, then Michael had a chance, and Tony had a chance.
all right, never mind. I won't mention it then.
Okay.
I'll wait.
I think
Basically-
you
I
can skip
probably
over
lost,
him.
so
Actually,
don't worry. You got the
What
win.
this boils down to is, I'm hearing a lot about from Tony. I'm hearing a lot about how relatable the characters are, how he related to them, and relatability is not a good series make. That means that it was good for you. That means that you related to the characters. I mean, yeah, it was a great series. I related to them too. Personally, if it were between Cowboy Bebop and Kids on the Slope, for me, I would choose Kids on the Slope because I related to it, because it was more poignant for me. But two words really struck out when Michael said them. And those words were derivative, which, yeah, it kind of is derivative of Cowboy Bebop, and progressive, because Cowboy Bebop was very progressive in a lot of, just so many ways. It changed not only anime, but the way that a lot of people think about storytelling in general, and because of that, I think that it was probably Watanabe's best work, and I feel like they get the point on this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of what I was getting at. That's what I was gonna say right there. I was gonna say
I've
that because
actually argued for Samurai
it sounded more
Champloo
like he
in-
was.
In contrast, but recently watching Cowboy Bebop it was a great experience. Rewatching that again, and I really loved it. I feel like a lot of people like look back on it and they're just like, yeah, that's overrated because everyone else likes it, but it's actually really good. So
It really is. Okay.
But yeah, Gabe, you took the words out of my mouth. What I was gonna say.
All right. So
Like it was personal because of him. But
okay, fair enough. Now, at the end of round 4 here, we actually have Tony and Michael tied at 2 points apiece, and Dustin at 1 with 1 question left. This is anybody's game. Dustin can tie it up, or either of these two gentlemen can win it right here with question 5. What American cartoon does the most justice to anime? Tony, we're starting off with you.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question? What do you mean by that?
That is kind of an open-ended question. Basically, what American cartoon do you feel best represents anime, best does the most justice to anime? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to have taken from anime, but when you look at it, it makes you think, God, how come I'm not wording this correctly? It makes you think of anime. It makes you feel like it is an anime. It does justice to anime.
I mean,
I know I'm not wording it
do we
correctly.
all
I'm
not
exhausted.
know what to say? I mean,
Avatar:
I
The
think
Last
we all
Airbender.
are on the same.
Avatar:
Yeah,
The Last
I think-
Airbender. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking this, and I'm
all
like,
on the
Avatar: The
there's
Last
only
Airbender.
He was going
one. There
with
is
Avatar.
only one king.
Okay,
It's like-
cool. That's what
To
I
be
thought.
fair, that you gotta look at it from this perspective too. At least with that question, it's hard to find any other American show that can do anime justice
Korra?
quite like.
Well, you could have said
well,
Korra. You could have
See,
said
the
Teen
problem with
Titans.
Korra.
There's a few.
Korra.
I was
But,
thinking
okay, hold
Korra,
on.
Teen Titans,
Go
Kappa
ahead,
Mikey,
go ahead.
Hi Hi Puffy on Yui Show, that stuff. Yeah, there's more.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
but,
but
see, the
hold
thing
on.
is, the thing that makes Avatar the king of it, I would argue Teen Titans. There was only one issue with Teen Titans, is that there wasn't that deep philosophical themes that many animes cover.
Now-
I would almost say Teen Titans is more or less like your typical shonen action anime.
Oh, I
And then
disagree.
you got-
Haunted,
you got-
X, Masked. No, there is a lot of deep shit. But okay, hold
But
on.
not as deep
Yeah.
as Avatar, and how
I w-
how they conveyed like different like
Okay,
philosophies.
this
and
is not the
cultures.
debate. I want to debate that with you one day. I really do. But here's the thing. That's the reason I gave you guys the questions in advance. I expected there to be a problem with this particular question because everybody would say Avatar. That's what I expected. So I had another question on the back burner, but nobody brought up the problem with me beforehand. So I'm going to give you guys a different question. So you guys are going to have to go off the cuff on this one. Is everybody cool with that?
Sure.
Off the cuff. That's how I do all of my
Alright.
things.
Okay, cool. What is the best holiday-related episode of an anime? Any holiday, any anime. Holiday-related episode.
Holiday-related episode?
Yes.
Holiday.
Exactly.
I have
Exactly.
Only movies! I can only think
have
of
one.
movies!
Oh, I've okay. All right. Well, you're Tony's going up first. Do you have one?
Yeah.
right.
Going back to my favorite anime, School Rumble. There is an episode where Harima is working on his comic and he is really late. And in the previous episode, he had to dress up as he had to play Santa Claus in order to make enough money so that he could buy more paper and more ink so that he could make it. What makes this not only a great episode in the fact that it helps with the character development, but it also ties in with the spirit of giving, or with Christmas, which is the spirit of giving. You know, Temma was making a present for the guy that she loved, Karasuma. That was her giving. Harima, in a sense, he grows as a character because he was very selfish in this episode. And it's shown a lot. It's shown prevalently in the episode. Like, he was always thinking like, oh, I gotta turn in this comic. because this is the only way I'm gonna convey my love to Tenma. But then he realized that through his selfishness, he ended up hurting the one person that he loved. And he's just like, I did it to, give my love to you. And then a small embrace, although ruined by a kind of like a silly comedic ending, but it was still poignant, was that he kind of had this embrace with Tenma where he gave everything to her, like all of his feelings, all of his emotions, all of his sorrow, and he was just begging for forgiveness, And you see Harima tries so hard in this anime too. Like, he is just pushing himself to the brink. So, and as much as you'd say like saying something's relatable isn't really a point, I will say that we all relate to the fact that we all have tried so hard on something to, we put almost 150%, and we want to make it come to fruition. No matter what we have to do, the risk, we just push ourselves constantly. Hell, in the beginning of the episode, Harima wakes up in jail because that was the only place that he could get his work done, because everywhere he went, it was just a distraction. He was so determined to get all of this done before Christmas and stuff. And again, it ties in again to the holiday season in the fact that, the spirit of Christmas was about giving and forgiving at the same time. Snow plays a big part in the episode as most of the streets are closed, so Harima couldn't even turn in his comic. In fact, I forgot to mention, one of the best parts in the episode is where Harima doesn't even turn in his comic. He gives it to Tenma first as a way to kind of like, hey, I know I kind of fucked up, and I want you to I want you to be the first one to read this. I give this to you. This is for you, after all. And Tenma, reading the comic, sees how hard Harima pushed himself, and she also grows to forgive him. She forgives him twice in this anime. So, a lot of emotions, a lot of comedy, and just a well-told story with some of the series' best animation as well. Makes it one of the better holiday episodes I've seen in an anime, and one that just stuck by me.
For being completely off the cuff, that was really, really strong. All right, Michael, you got your answer?
You know what's really great? I just Tokyo Godfathers, Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, but
Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. That's
it's like I can talk about those. I've literally never seen a show besides maybe K-On! With a Christmas special episode, and K-On! Was like maybe 6 years ago. So instead, I'm going to be talking about Polar Bear Cafe because I don't know why. Here's like an episode summary right here on Mal that I've got right in front of me.
Cheater!
Give me a break! I can't do this! I literally cannot do this.
All I'm gonna do is break you off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. That's all I'm gonna do.
Man, or can I just alliance with like Black Critic Guy? I don't know.
If you do, you guys are going to a tiebreaker round, so yeah, you can.
I'm gonna fucking go with him. I fucking go with him.
But because of that though, if you guys lose this, Dustin wins, like straight up, because he'll
Yeah,
get 2 points.
I know. He'll
Okay.
be at 3.
All right. Okay, so you're aligned with Blackest guy, Dustin.
Okay, this has been really hard because when it comes to Christmas or any holiday anime, I can't really remember a particular episode that covered it. That, it's just my mind is blank at this moment.
Keep in mind, I didn't say just Christmas, any holiday.
Well, I mean, that's the one that
any
sticks
holiday.
out, though.
So can it be an anime that focuses on the holiday, or
It can be. I mean, there were several holiday
can it be a
episodes.
bad anime?
It
Why
can-
not go with Soul Eater? Halloween.
Yeah.
Can it be a bad
kinda.
anime?
Yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as it's not green.
As long as you don't say Sword Art Online's Christmas episode. Go ahead.
Oh my god, I was
Yeah,
actually going to
sort
say
of.
that as a joke.
No, I'm not going with sword. No, fuck you. No, I'm not going with that piece of
Merry
shit.
Christmas.
No, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not going with Sword Art Online. I'm going with Toradora.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going with this is because there is an actual. This is funny. Toradora, there's this one episode where all the main characters end up alone and they're in tears because they all been ignored and rejected by someone they did like, and it was on Christmas. And the thing about this episode, nobody wants to be alone for the holidays. Especially me. When it comes to, special holidays like Valentine's Day or Christmas or, I felt that episode related to me a lot.
Okay.
In terms of, an episode, because there have been times where I've spent Christmas by myself, like when I was in college. I had nobody there for me, and, that kind of episode just felt more driven towards loneliness. And Christmas is a time for family and the people you love, and you want to celebrate that holiday with them. In that episode, everybody just gets rejected. It's like, fuck you. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. Toradora.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay, so here's how this is going to work. Tony's going to rebuttal, then Dustin's going to rebuttal, then Michael's going to rebuttal, then Dustin's going to rebuttal again. So, Tony, go ahead.
The problem with what you're saying, I mean, I'll be honest, not a huge fan of Toradora. I had problems with it. But the problem that I have about your description of the episode is it doesn't really embody the spirit of the holiday. It almost seems like an antithesis of what the holiday is supposed to be. Almost like a way of haha, it's Christmas, fuck you, kind of thing. Whereas, my episode not only deals with a lot of drama and a lot of, heartbreak and disappointment, but it also encompasses the whole theme of Christmas, the spirit of giving, and the spirit of forgiving and all that stuff. Things that are incorporated with the holiday as well, and it comes full circle. I feel like your episode, or at least the moment you're talking about, it doesn't come full circle. It just kind of leaves you half-cocked and kind of lonely and heartbroken with your life. And, that's not what Christmas is about. I'm not the one that believes that if you make something sadder, it makes it better, especially when it comes to Christmas. No, the sadder the better is not the case with Christmas. It has to be a Christmas is the only time where you can actually embody a cheerful tone, and everyone will be okay with it, no matter how cheesy you make it. You all love a Christmas movie that is just completely cheesy. It might not be the best film, it might not be the best anime, but you just relate it because it's the holiday season, and you connect with it, you resonate with it, and it touches you. And that's why I love this episode so much, is that I just felt so much of that holiday spirit. And it could be because freaking Harima is running around the entire episode just as Santa. I'm just waiting for him to say ho, 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 all the time. And there's a big Christmas tree. And the constant theme of forgiving and giving second chances is incorporated throughout the entirety of this episode. Just really touched. And it ends on such a happy note, too. Although she wasn't able to give the gift that she made for that guy, she sort of was able to give him something of equivalent. And I've talked about this anime to death, and I've talked about this episode to death right now, but that's my points to make, and the argument that I make about how I don't feel like your episode really incorporates that holiday tone, or even a holiday theme as well as School Rumble did.
Okay. All right, Dustin, rebuttal?
Alright. I'm gonna counter-argue that because who's to say that Christmas is all the time supposed to be happy and cheerful for everybody? I mean, we all have our own lives. It's gonna be different for all of us. And I think what this episode, like this special, was trying to convey is that, you know, Christmas is not just all about being happy. It can show us that, you know, depending on the situation, it can also be bad too. Like, it conveys that, because people get rejected in this episode. All the characters, like, because they like someone, and they get rejected on Christmas because they don't want to be alone. Nobody wants to be alone. But it happens. It's real life. It's reality. It happens. So that's pretty much why I think... I get what you're saying. Christmas is all about being happy and all that stuff. But it can also be a bad time as well. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting at.
You're alone on Christmas,
and that's what this... well, if you're alone, period, or if your Christmas is shit, period, yeah. You're gonna have a bad time.
All right, fair enough.
So, yeah.
Okay, Michael?
You know what? The Sword Art Online Christmas special, episode 3, right? That's what we're talking about. That was really dumb. I mean, the character design for, like, the demon guy who Kirito fought was really awful. I mean,
Satan Claus?
that was like a Santa demon or something. I mean, what if
Satan Claus.
What if actually someone died from that thing? I don't think we could ever live it down, like, legitimately. It's just like, I got beat by a Santa demon. Anyway, moving on.
Was that the episode where Sachi died?
Yeah, where Sachi dies. It's just like, oh my gosh, Kirito, I'm in this episode, and then it's like, I'm obsessed with you, and then Kirito's like, you know what would be great? If I don't tell you what my level is, and we go to super high level places, right? Oh, no, you died. I feel so guilty. Oh, this is just a ripoff of the Nina Tucker episode, isn't it?
To be fair, it was one of the better episodes in the series.
You know what's funny?
Anime.
That was actually my favorite episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because it was basically the Fullmetal Alchemist formula. It was like, oh my gosh, develop a character, girl, have her tragically die, obsess about her throughout the rest of the series. It's like...
But he's not, you do know he's not talking about Sword Art Online though, right? He's talking about Toradora?
Oh, I wasn't talking...
No, he was talking about how, about that episode.
I was just being random. I haven't seen either Toradora or the one that I've seen.
Oh my god. Okay, so do you want to debate against Dustin? Do you want to throw anything out there?
What a great argument.
Sword Art Online. Moving on.
Moving on. All right, Dustin.
Fuck Sword Art Online.
Wrap it up here with your final argument, sir. Dustin?
Oh my god. After him saying Sword Art Online, I'm sorry. I just fucking hate that show.
Mm-hmm.
I beat you.
Again. It showed us that Christmas can also be a bad time. You know. But I think what makes this episode unique to me, or to anybody, is how it shows how Christmas can be all happy and all that stuff, but then, like, when that happens, the situation that I talked about, all the characters getting rejected, that's when you feel it. You have feelings. Like, you get the feels of what's going on in the situation. You know, that's kind of how this episode played out for me. Like, it played with my emotions. And as a holiday special, I think it holds up pretty good. I'm not going to say it's the best, right, but in terms of a holiday special, I think it holds up in its theme and the way it portrays Christmas. Like, it could be bad for all of us.
I got you. Okay.
And good.
I'm going to call it right here. Basically, the thing is, Dustin, you said that like it was unique how it shows like the negative side of Christmas and how you could be alone. Sitcoms have been doing that for years. American sitcoms have constantly done that. Like, it's almost a trope at this point where, like, Ross and Rachel aren't together on Christmas or some other bullshit. It's the same thing. That's exactly what it is. Whereas with what Tony and Michael, mostly Tony, let's be honest, with what Tony said,
jumping on the bandwagon.
his episode, I mean, it felt, yes, very Christmassy, and it felt maybe a little bit cliche in that way, but it did feel unique. That is one thing. It may have been a little cliche in the uplifting moments and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is, the way it was structured, the way he explained it, was unique, and it felt like a Christmas episode. It really did. It felt like a holiday episode, and not just kind of a bummer, let-down, sitcom-style thing. So, what's going to happen here is Tony and Michael are going to get the point, which means they are tied at 3 apiece. Dustin, I'm sorry, buddy. You're out of the lightning round. Which, of course, brings us to the lightning round.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so for the lightning round question, what is the most overrated Studio Ghibli movie? Go.
Oh my god.
Howl's Moving Castle?
Okay. Give your reasoning.
Howl's Moving Castle, like, the problem I have is that all other Studio Ghibli films, I feel like, have, like, deeper undertones and their characters are, like, much more realized. The problem that I have with Howl's Moving Castle is the fact that I didn't really like the main character, Howl. Like, I never sympathized with him. And they do explore the backstory between him and the house and why it moves, but I just never resonate with him. I never felt that relationship between him and the girl. I don't even remember the girl's name either. I do like that whole twist of, like, making her old and stuff. That was very interesting. But, again, it wasn't forgettable, it just wasn't the best. And everyone talks about, like, oh, man, Howl's Moving Castle is so great. I feel like Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away encompasses the best of what Studio Ghibli, and Grave of the Fireflies incorporates what the best that Studio Ghibli has to offer. Those down-to-earth, like, hard-hitting stories that not only resonate with you, like, while you're watching it, but it resonates with you after you leave the theater. That's not what happened with Howl's Moving Castle. When you watch it, you're like, oh, that was a pretty interesting movie. There's some interesting parts to it, but it's just not resonating. I would almost say Ponyo, but the thing is, Ponyo had really fantastic, spectacular animation that still resonates with me to this day. It's probably one of the best animated films, animation-wise. So, I gotta give it to Howl's Moving Castle. It just didn't really hit the home run that it could have been, especially with the story that they had. The characters just wasn't that good. The story was interesting, but just not as great.
Okay. Michael?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Pompoko. For most overrated Studio Ghibli movie. Every time, like, the thing is that it's shit. It's just total garbage, and some people think that it's some sort of, like, deep commentary on Japanese culture, and the fact of the matter is that when you look at something, you have to sort of... I don't like this philosophy that I can speak for this other culture and say this is deep for that culture. It's like watching a Serbian film and thinking that it's good just because it has commentary on Serbia. It's a terrible film. A Serbian film is a bad film, and Pompoko is a bad film. What it comes down to is you have this, like, second-person perspective thing. It's weird. It's like this, like, narrator sort of doing something, but not really, and it's sort of like diary entries that are intermingled whatsoever. There's no continuity to anything, and the raccoon guy or whatever have giant nutsacks that kill people, and it's just fucking bad. I mean, if you're watching as a comedy, it's great. I mean, I could go around with friends and be like, yeah, you know what? There's an anime about raccoons who kill people with nutsacks. I mean, that's funny, but it's not a good film whatsoever, and I think that there's this reputation that Studio Ghibli can do no wrong, but that's one of the films that I feel like is just awful. So
I'm not going to rebuttal him, but I have a question to ask him dealing with Pompoko, because a lot of things that people bring up about Pompoko is, although it is bizarre, there's a deep environmental message to it.
It's not deep. It expositions it at the end.
Okay,
it's just
hold on. Cut
environment,
it for
man.
1 second. Here's what I'm going to do. Since we're already over on time, since you guys didn't really understand how lightning round works, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to just go at it. Just debate each other openly. Complete open forum. Debate each other starting right to now.
I don't like your name, Goat Jesus, because there are no Goat Jesuses.
The thing is that it's actually supposed to be me making fun of, like, well, it was a troll channel originally. I was supposed to do like Oni NG animation kind of rip-off things, and that's what it started out as. And so it's supposed to be this sort of troll kind of name, and I really like Arashi no Yoroni, which is this film about a goat, and I think that it's pretty cool. And it was supposed to just basically just be like, goat Jesus, goats represent Satan, Jesus represents Jesus, and so you kind of have this like, I'm just who knows what I am. That's kind of
I can't personally debate you about Pompoko. I haven't seen it. But I don't think it deserves to be
to you at the end. It legitimately stands up and like turns into the camera and it
fair,
says,
though,
"Kids, don't hurt the environment. The environment is a good place." Even though the movie is actually raccoon guys killing innocent people throughout the entire thing, so it's really hard to actually take any advice.
Wasn't, Hayao Miyazaki or Takada.
That wasn't the condition though. Studio Ghibli.
Oh no, I'm just saying to emphasize why I feel like, because you said it was very forced, like it just shoved it in. I felt like the directorial style of the storytelling is why it just didn't feel natural. Whereas both I don't know how to say his name. The other guy,
Isao Takahata.
Thank you,
Isao Takahata.
And Hayao Miyazaki. What they do so well is that the message of the environment, albeit sometimes could be in your face, most of the times it's very subtly thrown in there too. And I like
absolutely. Yeah.
And I like how they encompass that. Now, as for the worst Studio Ghibli film, I mean, I've heard many arguments that Tale of Earthsea is god
Ooh, but it's not overrated though. People don't. Nobody thinks
it's not.
Good.
You're right. It's not overrated, but it was a huge disappointment considering what Studio Ghibli stands for. This is just not what it needs to be. And
actually, from a weird meta perspective, it's pretty okay. From this, like, I know I hate watching it. Don't get me wrong; it's horrible. It's terribly animated. It's bad. But the thing is that it's supposed to be about Goro Miyazaki and sort of his feelings towards his father are kind of weirdly expressed in the movie. The reason why Aaron kills his dad at the beginning is because Goro himself hates his relationship with his father, and then like sort of regrets being like lashing out at him during the production of the film. And so that's what it's about. It's about this weird meta involved with like Goro and his dad from that angle.
Which makes an interesting story about that, like how the movie came to be. Like, there's a lot of emotions and, this father-son,
but it doesn't work with the actual narrative, of course.
No, definitely. I think, definitely. I personally have not seen it, although the concept was interesting. I thought the concept was interesting.
Oh yeah, no, they take this cool concept and like this like classic book series and then trash it, and it's really weird.
But I mean, shit, M. Night Shyamalan does that too. So I mean,
no, totally.
A lot of American directors do that. We're like, hey, let's take this concept we know nothing about and just take a huge shit on it. It's perfect. I think the problem that I see with Studio Ghibli right now is they're heading down kind of like that Pixar route, where all their aspiring ideas and their innovative filmmakers are starting to retire or not be able to tell the stories that they used to, or are trying to be phased out. And then their new team just doesn't know how to capture the essence or even how to do the right storytelling. I mean, their past films, besides The Wind Rises, hasn't really lived up to the name of Studio Ghibli. Like, The Secret of Arrietty might not be a bad film, but the problem was it was forgettable. And there's nothing worse than a forgettable film. Because a film could be bad, but it could be memorably bad. But if it's forgettable,
I actually really like Arrietty, though, from this perspective that, it portrays this really unique world, and you sort of, I don't think it's forgettable from the sense that the aesthetic of it and the way that it's animated and the perspectives of the different camera angles, like a lot of this sort of stuff burns into the back of your mind. I mean, when Arrietty is with her dad, like sort of going through the house, that's a really cool scene. That's like a heist film, except Studio Ghibli and with small people. You've seen them done it better in the past, and they've done it better in the past in films like that were made in the 90s where the animation wasn't as good. I just wish like Studio Ghibli would go on this route of letting people with new ideas come around, and I think Miyazaki's really great, but the thing is that his thematic threads are kind of wearing thin. He usually covers either environment, war, or childhood, and like all of that stuff is throughout all of his films. And so, you can only see that so many times before. I mean, Spirited Away is fucking amazing, and so is Princess Mononoke. And I think Princess Mononoke is the best example of what he can do as a director, because he takes something exciting and then doesn't actually, like, a lot of people think that it's preachy or it has this pro-environmental message, but the thing is that it's actually presenting this world where nature is kind of bad in some areas and people are actually good in some areas, like Lady Eboshi
that's what makes Princess Mononoke so great. It's ambiguous. There are no clear like this is the bad guys, these are the good guys. You know, it's just like both human nature and nature itself have bad and good aspects to them, but no one is just inherently bad. I mean, even the way I remember when I first saw Princess Mononoke as a kid, I was so shocked because that one small guy, I forgot, I think his name is
Jiro.
Jigen.
Jigen? Oh,
I thought he was gonna die, because I mean that guy might have been like
Billy Bob
Thornton. He was bad, but I mean he was thinking survival instinct kicks in, you know, like he's like, I'm gonna give this to the king, I'm gonna have my money, you know, and I can make it, you know, and that's a human behavior that is somewhat realistic in a sense. I mean, yes, he's greedy, but I mean, you gotta survive as well. And you know what he incorporates almost every facet of human behavior and human nature in that film, from the really passionate and fearless main protagonist who has a lot of ambition and is he's a great guy. He has a great spirit to him. Got that. You got the one girl raised by nature and is very environmentalist and wants either, you know, it's like all or nothing, which is very sentimental, like very similar to how PETA is, you know, like protect the animals or, you know, we're gonna do this to you, we're gonna kill you, you know. And
all right, guys, we are really over time, and it's kind of gone into its own little diatribe now. So I'm gonna go ahead and just call the round real quick. I'm going to give the point to Michael. Michael wins.
Yay! I don't know why. But okay! So
because you just brought up more points as to why yours was overrated, as opposed, like, he brought up the point basically that that Hell wasn't relatable and a couple of different things, but then he also brought up a lot of good points about Hell's Moving Castle and a lot of things that he did like, whereas you just shat all over yours. So essentially, you win. You win. Yay, Michael wins. Congratulations. All right, so since we're really over time here, I'm pretty sure this this whole Ghibli conversation is going to continue well past the podcast. But I'm going to go ahead and close out the podcast right here. I am ShinTaoGenesis. You can find me on YouTube.com/ShinTaoGenesis or at Twitter at ShinTaoGenesis. Dustin, where can they find you?
Hyrule's Anime. Yeah, Hyrule Anime. YouTube.com/HyruleAnime. Or my main channel, TheHyruleBard. So, yeah, you can find me there.
Okay, Tony?
You can find me at my YouTube channel, The Black Critic Guy. I do movies and anime reviews, and you can come on by and check me
You
out.
should call yourself the nice guy, because you're just, like, so cool, and, like, so cool. Like,
It's
so
true.
sweet, honestly. Thank you so much. That was a
thank
wonderful experience talking with you.
No, I really enjoyed talking to you, Mike. I mean, it was a lot. It was very interesting. You kept me going. You kept me on the edge of my toes, man. I was just like, oh god, this guy got me on the ropes. I'm excited now. I feel like I'm in a boxing match. Yeah.
Hajime no
It was
Ippo.
very, very entertaining.
Yeah. No, speaking of that, I'm doing sports anime, our sports anime themes, in my channel right now. So hey.
Yeah.
Nice. Everybody should go down and check it out. All right, and Michael, where can they find you?
I'm Goat Jesus on YouTube, and I do analytical videos, just examining things that I like and dislike. I used to do, like, you know, straight up reviews, but I was an asshole then, so don't worry about me now.
No, you're a great guy. Don't do that.
You're a great guy.
A lot of people really,
So cute.
a lot of people just kind of, I think, like the way that I do my current videos now in comparison to how I did before, so.
Fair enough. All right. Well, on behalf of the OtaKrew, I want to thank our guests for being here. Really enjoyed it, you guys. That was awesome, especially that last round. That was really, really awesome. Thank you guys for being here.
Yes, it was. I was laughing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Sincerely, thank you guys for being here, and thank you to everybody who is listening. This has been ShinTaoGenesis for the OtaKrew. Have a great day,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
Say joking.